All right, last week is Friendship Week. Now, this is a very, very sweet one. Friendship Week, our story begins, it's almost spring. The sun is shining, and of course, we left off our last story where everyone was sick. And this story starts off with my favorite song of winter, okay? Something about it, especially just anytime you've gone through hardship, I feel like it's a metaphorical song. It's like, it's literal because the sun is shining, you know, it's like spring is actually on its way, but it also just, I feel like represents so much more. So I love this song. It's just something about it. So Hamilton sings to Thumbkin that, you know, Thumbkin is waking up and the sun is shining again. The grass is turning green again. Let's go find the sun again. And it's just one of my absolute favorites. And just reminding that spring is almost here, because this is the end of February. March is just around the corner. This is a longer story, just beware, this is a two-part story. So this is one that if you're going to be reading to your children, plan ahead. You might want to do part one day, part two the next day. It's just going to be longer. So if your children have shorter attention spans, just plan ahead, because reading the whole thing might be a little bit long. Of course, you can also, by then, this audiobook will be out in time, so you'll be able to just listen to it as well. But it's worth the longer read because it's a really sweet story. So we start out with the sun is shining. Oh, let's go! And so then it's like one of the first sunny days in forever. So all the gnomes are going out and they're beginning to work the garden. They're beginning to prepare. Rudabug is out, beginning to rake away all the old leaves. They're out there, and then they realize, where's Petty Pom? You know, they roll out blankets and they're gonna have a little picnic in the sun because it's finally light enough. And they realize, where's Petty Pom? And so Rudabug goes and checks on Petty Pom. And he opens the door and he doesn't really hear a response. And then we have this absolutely heart-touching song, Hello Friend. And this one is just so sweet because Rudabug is coming to check on his friend. And of course, Petty Pom, we know Petty Pom, he's our bright, chipper gnome. And we see him in a not so bright and chipper state. And so it's just really this moment of even the happiest people can face struggles and can be down and need a friend. And so Rudabug comes in, checking on him, comforting him, and Petty Pom's cupboards are bare. It's the end of winter. He ran out of food and he is feeling ashamed because he feels like as a good gnome, he should prepare for the winter. He should have had his cupboards stocked. And Rudabug's like shocked, like you don't have any food. And he asks him, why didn't you ask for help? And he was just afraid that they were going to think he wasn't a good gnome. And so he comes alongside and it's just this really sweet moment of him reminding Petty Pom that his value is not based on what he makes or brings. His value is just being himself and a part of this little family of friends, really. And so he encourages him and says, come on, let's fill your cupboards. So not only do they go, and then you see this moment of Rudabug. This is the moment here in the February chalkboard down there, and he fills Petty Pom's cupboards and he gives him baskets and baskets of food. I know I see some teary eyes here and it is just so sweet. And so Rudabug comes, and I know there are so many tearjerkers in the winter stories, there really are, and they fill his cupboards, and not only do they fill his cupboards, they decide to then throw him a banquet and just celebrate him and make sure he knows how much they love him and how much he is a part of their little family of friends, and that nothing can change that, no matter how much he does or how little he does. And so they bake him cookies, they bring him along, and they throw him a banquet. And then it ends with this song, Good Friends, which again is just so good. Nathaniel has a way with words in these songs. And then they toast to Petty Pom. And so it's this really celebration of, even in the depths of winter, even when you feel like you didn't do good enough, you are welcome, you are loved, and you are valued because of who you are and not what you bring. So it is a very, very sweet story, very sweet songs, and I think you'll love them and you might cry. All right, some chatter going on here in the chat. Any tips for story time with a 3-year-old? Painting while having story time helps us. Good idea. Props help. Yes. So with a 3-year-old, we actually reminder about our story guide page. So before every story in our curriculum, we have this lovely story guide page that we actually lay out a lot of tips for approaching these stories with different age groups. So we have here for ages 0 to 3, we're actually recommending you to tell this story from the heart. So then this would be for you to actually read through this story, dwell on it, think about what moments are going to mean the most to your child, and then you tell it yourself. You don't have to worry about any details or, just tell it as if it was your own memory. Tell it to them. You can use with props, you can engage them in other ways and simplify the story to them and make it a moment between you and your child. Then we have this recommendation 4 to 6. You can read aloud the story, and part of how we've written this for the curriculum is we have these moments, we have these connect moments. So read and then pause, reconnect them, get them in. Have you ever been excited to see the sun again? And then you can pause and have a conversation and bring them back into the story, and then continue, and then pause again. And these little pausing points can really help that 4 to 6 age group stay engaged in the story. And then of course for ages 7+, you should be able to just read the whole thing, and they should be able to really go deeper into the story, in the meaning of the story. We also have a summary here, and if all you need to do is take that summary and kind of just tell it to them in a light little way, you can just expand upon the summary. You have an opening story question. So before you read your story, have you ever brought food to a friend? Get them thinking, tying the story to real life. You have a story hook, you have puppet show props. The puppet show props are another great way to keep a child's attention if you're telling it from the heart, or if you're listening to the audiobook and going along with Nathaniel's audiobook, these are some things you might want to have for this story. These are your characters that you're going to use. So if you have puppets, these are the ones you'll grab. And then we also have teachable moments. So this is how the story applies back to real life and makes this story more tangible in a lot of ways. So this story guide page, don't just skip this. So this is a lot. This is really what brings the stories from just a fun story to real tangible life lessons. And again, helps you adapt for shorter attention spans, 0 to 3, your 4 to 6 years, and age 7+, and really equips you with how you can adapt these stories, especially if they're a little bit longer, so you can really still feel like you're meeting the child and their attention span and everything they can absorb just at that age. So I hope that helps to kind of answer that question a little more fully, especially for this story since it's a little bit longer. Take a look at the story guide. And of course, I know Nathaniel's audiobooks also really help, because with the music and, just the little sound effects he does just really puts you there, and it really makes it really immersive. So we have our songs, very sweet songs, and then we get into our lessons. So Friendship Week, we're going to start off. Oh, quick question. I may have missed, will there be a silk for February? There is already a silk for February. I believe it's already on the website. We launched that a little bit ago. So yes. All right. Our first activity for Friendship Week is going to be kind of an option. If you want to kind of one step further than Play-Doh, you can offer modeling clay. Now, if you still have little ones, maybe 2, 3s, you might still want to just use Play-Doh you already have. So this could be Play-Doh, or this could be modeling clay. Now, modeling clay is a little thicker. You're going to strengthen their hands a little more. They're going to be able to create different things. And this stays within the rhythm of starting off the week kind of with a modeling activity, but brings it a little bit further. Of course, if you started back in autumn, they've been doing this for, half a year now, and so they might be ready for something more. For this, I tend to like using oven-baked clay, but then I don't bake it. I just use it as a kind of a Play-Doh, and I use air-dry clay, can be a little messier because you kind of have to use water. And then of course it hardens very quickly. So I like to use that for more like real pottery experiences. But for just kind of an elevated modeling experience, I love using modeling clay, oven-baked clay, as just a medium that they can explore to see what new things they can create. So it's a really fun way to just kind of, one step further, right? Now, our main lesson is another great life skill that I love, polishing toys. I do try to do this with my children once a season, because it really, again, helps them stop and care for our things. And so you can grab some beeswax polish. We have some on our website. And grab all of your wooden things, your wooden toys, wooden spoons, anything wooden you have. Take a cloth and just rub that in, and it just makes these things shine. It smells really good. It's a very sensory activity that is just nourishing. Just the pattern of just rubbing this in and seeing the beauty of these wooden things come to life. I would recommend using natural wood, so I probably wouldn't choose like a Grimm's rainbow, because we don't, I don't think the color would necessarily come off, but it could change the color a little bit. So I would focus on natural colors for this activity, but grab anything you have and just polish those things and they will just shine. It is just lovely. The kids tend to just love it because it's soft, it smells good, and they can just rub, and then it's really satisfying to see how shiny it gets. For our this one is so sweet. Our morning activity for day 2, we are going to be doing lavender foot baths. And this is something that is so sweet to do with a child. So this is where us as adults, our parents, our teachers, we will prepare a warm bath with some lavender oil or lavender soap, and we'll have our children sit down and we will just wash their feet. And it is just this really simple, sweet gesture of caring for them. We are down, kneeling in front of them, caring for their feet, washing their feet. I love to sing to them. You can sing to them Rest Now, Be Well, or Good Friends. There's so many sweet winter songs that you can sing while you wash their feet. But wash their feet, just take a moment with that child and really care for them. It's warm for them. Again, it's such a sweet sensory thing for them to experience, just sitting and being cared for and having their feet washed in this warm, sudsy water. You'll smell the lavender, and it's really just a really special thing for everyone, especially if you have a lot of kids or if you have a preschool setting, we have a lot of children, to just take a moment for each child and just care for them. It's really, really sweet. Our baking day, our baking lesson for Friendship Week is cookies, because bringing a friend a plate of chocolate chip cookies is just such a lovely and simple way to show them that you care. So we're gonna make chocolate chip cookies. I love this recipe, not only because it's delicious, but it's also really easy to do with children. It uses melted butter, so you can just melt the butter instead of having to have perfectly softened butter. You don't have to like cream the butter and sugar ahead of time. They mix up so quickly and you can bake them right away. Of course, I know baking people will tell you to always chill your cookie dough, and of course I'm sure that will improve them a little bit, but they also taste so good just baked right away. So melted butter, stir it up, pop them in the oven. They're really easy, they're really quick, and they're really, really delicious. So I love this recipe with children. You can either use chocolate chips or chocolate chunks. The chocolate chunks will melt a little better, so I do love using chocolate chunks if you want something a little more elevated, but chocolate chips will work just fine as well. So really easy, really great little cookie recipe, and they're really yummy. So bake these up and then think of a friend. Do you want to take these to a friend in need, or someone who might need a little pick-me-up, or someone who might need a little cheer? Model what the gnomes did with Petty Pom. They not only filled his cupboards and showed up for him, but they really took the time to celebrate him. So if there's anyone, if maybe someone who had just had a baby, someone who's been sick, someone going through a hard time, think of someone that you know and love in your community. And again, another opportunity for a little field trip to go really show up for someone and care for them and bring them something. So now our day 3, our last day, pretty simple. And then again, we have another option here. The morning activity, instead of crayons, you can offer colored pencils. I love the Furby colored pencils. They're kind of they encourage that triangle grip. So if you think your children are ready to start experimenting with some colored pencils, this is a great option to do so. Again, you can still use crayons if you prefer, but just one, as we're kind of getting around the year, you can start to add a little bit more, see how their grip is developing, guide that nice triangle grip if you can, and again, kind of like the modeling, see what new things they'll draw and create with crayons, or with pencils versus crayons. And then our painting activity, wet on wet, and I'd love to just do green and yellow, because this is, again, the sun is shining. The next week, it was going to be spring curriculum. It's the last week of winter, and so just reminding us that the spring, that spring is coming, and that the sun is returning, the yellow sun is returning, the green grass is returning, and it's just a really sweet way to end your season. And with that not only ends our season, that ends our winter curriculum. So here you have the lyrics of Sun is Shining, and it just ends on such a beautiful note of we've made it through winter, and the very next month will be spring. you.